Hey, everybody, and welcome to the first episode in a month of The Hole in the World, an actual play live stream featuring us playing The Invisible Sun, an RPG by Monty Cook Games. I, as always, am your host, Great Zamino, otherwise known as Zach in some circles. And to my left on screen, playing Gavriel.
Hey, it's me, Marcy, aka Experimental Madness, playing, as Zach stated, Gavriel Glinsky, the ardent iconoclast apostate who hosts a choir. That title gets longer every time I try to say it. And things are going just fine with her right now. Everything is good. She definitely didn't turn into a monster. Her and her friends definitely didn't just encounter the big bad of the season. It's fine. And we're definitely not all separated from each other. So, things are going well.
Yes. Is this a face that would lie?
Yeah.
And below you, playing our resident weaver, Maurice.
Hey everybody, I'm Bill, playing Maurice, who is a stalwart empath of the Order of Weavers who turns tales into reality. And yeah, Maurice also finds himself separated from the group once again, and also separated from his thought form, and the haunting cries of his crying dog will be heard throughout the stream, as this weighs heavily on his mind.
Excellent. Good to have another viewer, even if in the background here. And on our right, having played some really intense good gaming last time, playing one of our second resident apostate, Twigg.
Oh, I thought we were going to talk about Kyrrie and that amazing Good Society stream, but okay.
We can do that next, but you're up first.
In the meantime, I'm going to talk about unarbitrary random bullshit. What's up? I'm Hopper, and I am playing Twigg, also an apostate, and a mendicant gallant apostate who eats knowledge. Yeah.
And finally, below them on our overlay here, joining us is not only our resident Vance and our incredibly powerful book mage, but also our resident facilitator of Good Society, which was so good and so cool. Take it away. Our friend playing Kyrrie is...
Hi guys, I'm Marissa. Thank you for that lovely introduction, Zach. I am Critical Kitten on the internet. I currently play Kyrielle von Hollingsworth, the first assistant librarian of the Order of the Vance, who is an aromatic stoic who understands the words. She is mother of Zaleska's grimoire, or if not its mother, its caretaker, curator of King Nine's library, and currently furious at a certain apostate whose secret soul happened to mess with her magic. So yeah, we'll see where that leaves us.
And with that, we are going to start with a bit of a recap. But before we do that, however, today is a very special day, as you guys know, from all of the Black Lives Matters protests, as well as the kind of a lot of the ongoing protesting going on throughout the country. Magnified Studios has decided to do its part by contributing to a great deal of charities through our streams that serve the needs of underserved and underprivileged communities and communities of color throughout the New York City area. And the charity that we have chosen today, each of us are going to be giving a small denomination, but together, in honor of the fact that it is our 20th episode, we are all giving $20 per viewer who watches the stream. So if you guys can go ahead and spread the word, have anybody come on, jump on and view, regardless of how long they stay, the most important thing is that we just kind of take into account that number. We contribute that number multiplied by 20, and we give it to a fantastic charity in the form of, I believe, the Crown Heights Mutual Aid Society. So that is gonna be really great for us to do. So I'm looking forward to what we total up here. But before we get started, I think a recap is in order. It has been a month since we met in real world, but it has been minutes since you guys ended up kind of departing last kind of episode. So I am going to put on some music and we are going to discuss what occurred. And if starting in the same order that we introduced ourselves, if you guys want to point out something interesting or something really provocative or something very important that happened last episode, that'll be very helpful. And there's a bit of music for us. Yeah, so Gavriel, start us off. What happened?
Sure. So much. I think the most important thing is that we finally had a confrontation with Duren. I think one of the things that is interesting to note, and I'm going to keep it super brief, is that Nikolai did tell Gav that he met Duren through the Church of Nightside. Or I think I got that one wrong, mixed up in my head, but
Church of Midnight, very close.
Church of Midnight, midnight. It was close. And that's already something that's been on her radar since their investigations in the Topiary district, as perhaps an organization that has been preying on a lot of the Vizsla and their lack of memories as they're being reintegrated into the actuality.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot has been transpiring there. Nikolai seemingly kind of following up on you through word of mouth and through kind of discovery of what you guys have been up to in the Topiary district has been led into this really kind of like this kind of almost cataclysmic coincidence or serendipity, if you want to call it that, where it led straight into the confrontation with his boss. And to that effect, Maurice, tell me a little bit about what transpired last episode. What do you recall of that?
So Maurice remembers, first and foremost, abandoning his thought form at the entrance of Jaren's casino. But before that, he remembers finally having the group back together. And as they go to Nikolai's safe house, Twigg abandons the group, abandoning Kyrrie in the market. And hey, girl. So the group that had just gotten back together was fractured once again. And in that moment of vulnerability, Nikolai announces that he works for Jaren and that he has the ability to make people tell him things that they wouldn't want to reveal. And ultimately was trying to rescue Gav from that situation and couldn't. So with these failures on his mind, he is now alone.
Excellent. Yeah. And not only that, but it turns out, I believe, that you left a valued member of the party behind in your escape from the circumstances. Namely,
yeah. The abandonment was not intentional. Duncan was instructed to wait outside the casino where it would be safe, but the magic that took everyone away from that location meant that Duncan is now all alone, waiting as he was told.
And following up from that, we also have, I think, currently reeling from getting what they wanted, or at least kind of getting the confrontation they were prepared for. Twigg, tell me a little bit about what happened last episode.
Well, Twigg had good reasons for what they, or thought they had good reasons for what they were doing, and went seeking answers, and that confrontation happened, and they learned some things that might break them a little bit, and they revealed their true name, and activated their secret soul as part of this battle, which is the ripples of which have yet to be felt.
And for those who do not understand when we say secret soul, or have not heard it before within the context of this game, a secret soul is a lot like basically a part of yourself within a larger kind of context. There is a entity called the Magisterium, which has these secret soul representatives that exist in the actuality. And to invoke one is essentially to basically do a one-time limit break in your campaigns. Or so essentially, Twigg invoked the spirit of the soul of the Doctor, a cold and calculating soul avatar that gave them +2 to all of their actions until the sun next sets. So that was an incredibly pivotal moment within the last confrontation, which probably gave you the upper hand that you needed to help trump Duren. But that being said, there was some other events that took place after in the kind of chaos, and maybe Kyrrie, you can speak to some of that.
Yeah, so Kyrrie has a whirlwind adventure last session where effectively, she discovered this note from Twigg that Literalum helped her find. And the note basically directed her to it was a goodbye note from Twigg saying effectively, I've gone off to do something on my own. Don't come after me. And so fearing very much for them, Kyrrie contacted the rest of the party, and that's what led to the events that culminated in Duren's demise. But at the very end, just as Kyrrie was about to cast a spell to take everyone back to their last known location, which actually would have gone wrong and taken them back to the middle of the marketplace, the place where Kyrrie felt the most constrained, Twigg, as their secret soul, did a bit of magic that interfered with Kyrrie's, and that's what split the party apart in this instance. But Kyrrie fought back against that magic, and so was able to go with Twigg to their intended destination. And so where we last saw them, Twigg was standing over the body of Duren and beginning to weep, and Kyrrie had slapped him, but he had barely registered it at all.
Yeah.
Or they had barely registered it at all.
Absolutely. And it's in this moment that we are going to resume the stream and the kind of the adventure proper. So in order to do that, I am going to play a different song. I think that this one's a good one. So, Twigg, you have pounded into the dirt of this empty lot the remains of Duren the Devoured, someone who shared a great deal with you, not only apparently a past, but also an ability or a kind of people. You knew logivores, devourers of knowledge, a kind of people reviled by many in Saturnine for fear of the consumption of knowledge being lost to those people. Vances especially had feared your kind for a long time. This is an impression that you've gotten even in the very little amount of time that you've spent back in the actuality. And there was this link here, this past that you did not know, and this link is now severed. As far as you can tell, it is gone in the remains of this disabled kind of machinations of this person. It's all gone. All of it has been sundered. What's going through your mind?
This isn't what Twigg wanted. This isn't what they wanted. They wanted answers, and they really just got more questions. And the only knowledge that they did get that Duren and them fought alongside, side by side, and that Twigg murdered Duren in cold blood over something called the Pain Engine.
His last words echo through your mind. We were supposed to be friends. We were supposed to be, right before whatever demon that had begun the devouring long, long ago finished the job. And I think it's worth stating, you still have access to this awareness. You hear Kyrrie talking, but not a lot is, I think, piercing this fugue state you find yourself in. That said, Kyrrie, you are seeing Twigg. They're non-responsive. They're shut down from all that's transpired. What's going through your mind?
So I think most of all, Kyrrie is angry. She's angry that her magic has been messed with. She's angry that Twigg broke the group apart again when she had just committed to be there, to be present, to not leave. And she feels like that agency was taken away from her, from all of them, because Twigg thought they knew what they needed, and that Twigg didn't ask the rest of us to come with them. And I think there's a little bit of this kind of abandonment that Kyrrie has been dealing with over the course of the season, but I think especially now, where she feels very much like people cut and run rather than stick things through, and have for a lot of her life. That said, I think she realizes that what Twigg is going through right now, lying there on the ground, is not something that is at all about her. And being someone who doesn't speak the language of emotion particularly well, she's trying to figure out a way to get through to them that isn't just words, which is what she's good at and what she knows.
Yeah, absolutely. You are at an impasse. You are so consumed with these feelings that the indigo light that is shining out of you is something that I don't think that you really kind of notice. In fact, unless you're specifically looking for it, I think you are kind of caught up in the moment. And Twigg, you might do the same, but I don't know. Why don't you guys determine what happens here?
I mean, I believe where we had left off at the end of the last episode was Twigg had kind of used just jams as just raw power into sinking Duren into the concrete and cracked dirt of this abandoned lot. And I think that took a lot out of them. They're pretty clearly, like, as they drew power from their own blood as well.
The sun, the indigo light of the sun is setting, and with its departure from the sky, the spectral form that has been overlaid over Twigg, that form of a taller, gaunt, had to be at least 7-8 feet tall, plague-masked doctor. This kind of translucent, shimmering form is beginning to fade as the sun leaves. But Twigg, I would like you to make an intellect roll, as you are. This will determine something you may or may not notice. Take 2 to this venture. You are going to need to hit a 10 in order to notice this.
All right, I'll use a Bene on that.
Okay.
I don't know why I'm trying to roll 3 dice. That's a 5.
Okay. So I think a 7 kind of, I think counts as a partial success, and I think that there is a point of light in the corner of your vision that redirects your attention to Kyrrie, and as you do kind of turn your head, you see that light fade, and she's standing in front of you, exasperated, angry, but also, I don't know, would you call it pity, or would you call it, what would you call it, Kyrrie?
I think those things are actually beyond Kyrie's grasp to name them as such. I think she's trying for empathy, but she doesn't know how. And so it's kind of like a muddled attempt at empathy.
The intellect of the doctor directed your attention towards the most salient, noticeable fact in your vision. But now you are just, as the translucent form fades, you are left looking at Kyrrie, Kyrrie looking at you, in the middle of this incredibly intense moment.
Twigg's just kind of mouthing, literally unsure of what to say, and just isn't quite sure what that light was, but just I'm kind of kneeling, still just kneeling here, just turn over their shoulder. Just, I'm sorry, Kyrrie. You weren't supposed to be here. You weren't supposed to be there either.
Sorry. You're sorry. And you hear a bit of an edge now to Kyrie's voice. What exactly has this accomplished, Twigg?
Well, I think I'm starting to get an idea of who I am.
And is it what you thought it would be? Are you who you thought you would be?
I don't think so. And you kind of hear Twigg's voice crack a little bit at that.
I don't speak the language of emotion very well. I'm not programmed to be good at that. I can't comfort you. And to be honest, I'm too angry to try. Why did you leave us?
I think Twigg kind of is going to stand up at that. And you probably see that there is a lot of blood kind of coming from this wound in their chests, on their hands. I don't need your comfort. I just didn't want any of you to die in pursuit of my answers.
You do realize that is not your jurisdiction.
It is entirely my prerogative to decide when I live and when I die.
Yes, but you don't get to decide when your friends can help you and when they can't. I thought we were friends, Twigg. Are you here to disabuse me of that notion?
No. I don't know that you really want me for a friend. I don't know that that's such a good idea.
All due respect, Twigg, but again, that is not your call nor your jurisdiction. We would have helped. I would have helped. Did you even think for one moment of what it would have been like if you had died? If the last thing that I'd heard from you was that note, did it even cross your mind that I would have lived with that for the rest of my life? That because I couldn't keep track of you in a marketplace, your death was on my hands. You were my responsibility. And I lost you.
I don't want to be anybody's responsibility. That's not a burden anybody should have to deal with. And Twigg just kind of gestures from head to toe. Like, that's... Ugh.
Yes, but that is a burden all of us, Gav, Maurice, myself, we have chosen to take in being your friend. You have to understand that when you push us away, when you push me away, what that does is tell me, that we don't matter to you. That we aren't wanted in your life.
Just kind of face scrubby type. Just it's not that you're not wanted. I mean, it's been such a short amount of time, and I feel like I know all of you so well, and I don't know why it distresses me to think about any of you being hurt. And
do you not think that very same distress is not what we feel about you? Do you not think that you could trust us to stand by you, even if what you had to do was something you had to face?
It wasn't a gamble I wanted to take.
But it was a gamble you should have shared with us and let us decide together, not one that you took into your own hands.
You're right. That's not... I took away your choice.
Look, and she gestures to Duren, where Duren was laid to rest. I'm sorry about what happened to Duren, and I'm sorry for what you were going through and the pain that you were experiencing. I don't know how to make it better, but I will tell you that staring at this hole in the ground and begging it to tell you more about your past, of feeling an absence or a void of meaning, of knowing that there's some significance but not being able to name it, it won't bring him back, and it won't restore the past, and it won't tell you what to do next. The people who will tell you that, or at least the people who will work with you to figure that out, are the people you sent away.
Twigg's not emotionally equipped to handle that. So we're gonna latch on. We're gonna latch on to something else. I don't want to restore the past. I want to know what the past was, so I don't make the same mistake again. Like,
you see, that's your problem. You are a logivore. You keep going out and looking for knowledge to consume, to feed off of, about your past, about the war, about our history. But what you're finding is that knowledge is consuming you instead. Because that's what knowledge does when you don't access it the right way, when you don't work through it, talk to it, live it, immerse yourself in it. You're not asking, you're taking. I'm a librarian. I've been taught to handle knowledge. The reason a library is one of the most dangerous places in the world is because knowledge can level cities and unravel people. But I want to help.
do you think everybody should have access to that knowledge? Is that right?
It should be gained in the right way. But I believe that knowledge should be shared, should be accessible to all. Certainly my sister would disagree, but...
I thought I knew what I believed. I don't know anymore. Zach, can I use an action to get back all my sorcery?
Absolutely.
I want to do...
Yeah, go ahead.
I want to jam, and then I want to use it all again.
Okay.
And Twigg is going to kind of just very doesn't really realize their hands are covered in blood, and just kind of does another face scrub. So at this point, it's just like blood all over the face and a little bit of grubby. But that was there before. That's just normal grub. And it's just gonna kind of Well, I thought I knew what I believed, and apparently I am not who I thought I was. I didn't stand, or I don't stand for what I thought was right, and what I think is right is maybe wrong, and I have to believe that I made the choices I made for a good reason. And sometimes I don't know, Kyrrie. And I don't know where to get that knowledge, and I don't know how not to know, and I don't know whether it's possible to not know again, and I don't know whether it's better to know or not know, and I just can't. And I think Twigg's gonna kneel back down and push all of that energy, which, for if you care, there's 8 points of 8 sorcery points, and you know what? 3 points of physicality too. Everything is getting poured into the ground here. It's not like a specific spell, it's just raw green magic.
It sounds like I need to turn a card. The enticing jewel, color of the invisible sun, visions, swans, blades, and water, greed, money, beauty, goals, and success. The light at the end of the tunnel, the brass ring, the center of the target. The object of our desire lies before us in the form of the enticing jewel. We want it, we have to have it. Okay. So, part of the despair notion of this card is something the PC desires remains out of reach, perhaps because they are too driven by greed. It shines in the darkness, its beauty mocking me. Its absence from my possession is a wrong that must be righted. And I think you push all of this sorcery in, and as you begin pushing all of this magic into the soil, some dirt flows over your hands, and you see that shrub that you awakened is pushing the soil over your hands to fill the hole. You barely noticed it was there, but it's very silently, quietly doing the work that you have begun. And as you kind of push the dirt over Duren's faceplate, one of the silver eyes sparkles at you before being covered by dirt. And with that card, that's what you're gonna get.
Alrighty then.
What is your intention now, both of you?
I think Kyrrie is going to kneel next to Twigg, where Twigg is kneeling next to Duren. And I think, the image of this, the visual, is very much like, her gown is now covered in dirt, and she doesn't seem to care about this. But she says, hey, the greatest thing about having your ideology overturned, of having everything that you know challenged, is that it gives you a sight to see beyond what was constructed for you. And you get to remake yourself. You're not down there, Twigg. She points to Duren. You're up here. And what you do with that is up to you.
I can't find a fault in your logic.
No. I'm the one you call when someone's behaving illogically and needs correction.
Well,
I'm good at that.
you should probably turn your ringer off because... Can we go?
We can go.
And I kind of imagine as Twig goes to pull their hand out of the dirt, the little shrub is just kind of like there, just like, did you decide on a name to the shrub?
I know it's looking at you, and whether or not it's because it's the last thing it said, or whether or not that's a conscious choice, it looks at you and says, "Fix up." You don't know if it's telling you its name or what it's going to do.
That's a good name. That's a really good name. Kyrrie, meet Fix Up.
Kyrrie looks from you to Fix Up and extends a hand towards one of its outstanding branches.
It doesn't really seem to kind of know and what you're doing, and then it kind of reaches up and grabs your hand with two of its branches and almost kind of like, I think kind of pulls, it's almost like it's doing a pull-up.
Kyrrie laughs and shows a little bit more gently how one would greet, how physically greet each other, and says, "It is a pleasure to meet you, Fix Up."
Fix up. Yes. Good. Meet you. Good. And it's very quiet. It's almost like it knows how important this moment is. It almost doesn't want to interrupt the silence.
Twig's gonna look down at it and goes, I've got to go again, but I'll be back.
I'll be here.
Kyrrie, where did you send the others?
I didn't send them anywhere. You interfered with my magic. Where were you trying to send them?
To wherever was safest.
Then that is undoubtedly where they are.
What do we do now? What do I do now? What do we do now?
Well, I think a good first step is, however tentative, is to find them. After all, finding them, finding you, was what brought us together in the first place. It's only fitting that you bring us back together.
Does smack of a certain poetry.
Yes, well, I suppose the librarian in me must admire the narrative bow. Maurice would like it, and that's a little wistful.
Goes slightly over Twig's head. Well, I guess no sleep till Saturine, huh?
Quite. Oh, and Twig, mind that you never interrupt a spell of mine again. Okay? I might not be so kind next time.
All
like
right.
it kind of gives a goofy half smile, even though like they look like hammered shit.
So, I think in this moment, as you've kind of come to this accord, there's one last thing I would like to leave you with regard to that card and all of the magic that you've pumped into the soil. There's something about this conversation that you are having with Kyrrie. it is incredibly familiar to you. It feels like deja vu. You can't quite place why. Whether it's the subject you've talked about, whether it's the overall tone, or what's transpired before, or whether or not it had more to do with who you were talking to. There's something very strangely familiar about it. And we're going to leave you here. And we are going to rejoin Maurice at the Castle of the Lie. But first, I'm going to change the music. Maurice, in one moment, you are at the Silverjack Casino, desperately looking for a way out. Witnessing the death of the antagonist that has plagued all of you for so long. And in another moment, as Kyrrie reached out to all of you to witch step away from this area of danger, in that same breadth of a moment, you find yourself looking at a familiar sight. The entryway, the monotonal entryway, or grayscale entry of the Museum of the Lie, the museum that from which all of its exhibits are pulled, the gray sun, the shadow, the world that so many of us leave behind of 21st century nonsense when we return back to the actuality. It is a place that has given you refuge and inspiration countless times in the time that you've been returned to Satyrine. How do you feel seeing it now in the span of a moment?
Disoriented. Confused. And he looks around and begins to panic. They're not here.
Nobody is here with you.
He takes a step, 5 steps in one direction, turns around 10 steps in the other, and then turns back and looks at the museum, and lacking any other ideas in his head, he steps inside.
Okay. I believe that this is... Okay. You step inside the Museum of the Lie. You can tell...
What are the normal business hours of the Museum of the Lie?
It is outside of normal business hours right now. But you know the staff. They have seen you time and time again. You have struck up a rapport with the security guard. It is almost sunset in Satyrine. And so you know that this is when they would typically close. But as you start looking for a way to kind of find shelter, orient yourself, I think there's probably a security guard that you know says, "Hey, Mr. Webb?"
Oh, Jerry. Hello. It's me again.
Hey, you okay? You look a little bit distressed. You all right? Everything?
Maurice kind of takes stock of his appearance for the first time in a while. The nice suit is scuffed and torn in places. His face is blotchy and sweaty, and he kind of wipes some sweat from his face and smooths his hair and says, I've just been running. I'm on my way home, actually, and I just wanted to stop and just take a look around. You know, I've seen everything here already. I won't be long.
Oh, well, Well, typically, Mr. Webb, I'm not supposed to do that. I'd like you to go ahead and see if you can make a interaction roll, and I'm going to give you +1 to this, just because you already know the security guard. I'm going to set your challenge at a 5.
Okay. I will remind the GM that I have a vex because of this suit.
Okay, so we're going to say because of your splotchiness and because of the kind of like the haywire nature of I think one of the plates that you use for attacking is probably out of the sleeve. So what's going to happen is that you are going to have that vex applied, so it's going to be a straight roll.
Okay. And I think I'll push a sortilege for this.
Excellent. So roll twice and see if you can get 1-5.
I do get 1-5.
Excellent. And Jerry looks at you, this kind of slight... describe Jerry for me, actually.
Jerry's young. Jerry's not even 20 years old. And he was one of the first people I took at the Acclamation Center. And he was one of the only people who shared my affinity for the Gray and was looking for a very unsatisfying job. Not, wanted to just put in a 9-to-5 and clock out and go home. And I referred him to this job.
Absolutely. And he's kind of like this very feckless kid. I think I was giving a little bit too much of an even tone. It's like, oh, Mr. Webb, I don't know if this is okay. Oh, gee, you're putting me in a spot here. Yeah, but no, he says, oh, okay, well, I'll tell you what, I won't be far behind, but, just take your time, but, within reason.
I appreciate it, Jerry.
And he opens the door of the Museum of the Lie, or the Castle of the Lie. One thing I do want to note is we are joined by Monty Cook Games, folks. So in the chat. So woo! Hey everybody. Again, also just for a reminder, everybody, for every viewer that we get on stream today, we are going to be donating $20 to a local Crown Heights Mutual Aid Fund. So we ask that all of you, again, tell your friends that we're streaming. Please go ahead and kind of jump in. We're so happy that you get to join us in light of everything that's going on, and that we can be a bit of a refuge for everyone. So, picking back up. You find yourself at the entry to the Castle of the Lie in the main foyer. Now, you've been here many times. And one of the very first things that you see on your entryway as kind of like a way to kind of entice people coming in is that newspaper displaying Man Lands on Moon. And it's kind of like a very kind of trivial, almost funny happenstance, funny idea that these people in the Gray would come up with. What else is there that has enticed you so often, so recently?
There's a big T-Rex sculpture, or not sculpture, fossil, arranged as if it were, the Museum of Natural History. Again, a piece of, fanciful imagination to other Bisley, and for Maurice especially, a very comforting, familiar sight. It's a spitting image of the museum he's been to in New York City. And his legs are walking through this place without really him thinking about it. He walks past a model of a flying machine that was apparently from the early 20th century, and a diorama of an ancient city from the Gray named Rome. And then Maurice finds himself in a section of the museum reserved for technology, things that are accomplished via the ether in Saturnine, but strange things like telephones and television sets.
There is, sorry, go ahead.
And Maurice finds himself standing without meaning to in the place where he last stood with his 3 companions when they had their first meeting.
And I think when you look at like kind of these cellular phones and these mobile phones and computers, and you all kind of you see all these kind of interesting kind of plaques in front of each exhibit. In front of the Tyrannosaurus Rex, for instance, you said this is physically impossible. It would require magic in order for this creature in order to have a linear spine like this. In all likelihood, its spine was closer to the ground in order to empower it to scrape with its small arms at the dirt. And so it's literally just kind of like eventually the gray gets there, but the actuality knows what's what. And in front of these devices, the other thing you find is a note. While these things are used daily by shadows, they should be approached with caution by Visley, for this opens a window into the etheric noosphere, where spirits do dwell and do not only require but a single opportunity to make their presence felt and known.
Is this a goddamn Ouija board?
There's something really weird about this kind of technology in Saturnine. I mean, it's why the etheric radio station that you guys addressed the spirit problem was literally because they can happen to garner and basically act so magnetically for spirits. It's why they needed to clean the station. So you are looking at this spot where you first met the other Visley. What's going through your mind?
The last time the group separated, Maurice made a choice. And after speaking with Gav and after seeing how it affected Kyrrie, he realized it was the wrong choice. So he's going to make a different choice now. And he decides that for now, this is the safest place for him. And he's going to meet Kyrrie in the dream study like he failed to do previously. And he looks for a place to sleep for the night. He looks for I think he moves on through and finds a section related to fashion throughout the ages, and takes clothing off hangers and kind of hides behind tarps and tapestries and creates a place where he can sleep. And as he prepares the spell Dream Study, which is the only spell that he knows, all other magic he has access through the weave, but this spell was taught to him by Kyrrie. And as he prepares the spell, he remembers the shape, the dorm room setup that they shared together, and just goes through his pockets to determine what the material he would lay out would be.
What would it be?
He examines his pockets really quickly. He has...
If you want to weave something, you can as well.
He's got some weaving plans. I think what he does, he pulls out a smattering of crystal and glass orbs, and he holds up a mage coin and kind of considers it, and then comes across his pipe tobacco and smells it and thinks about all the associations he's had with smell throughout his life. The smell of his grandmother's apartment, the smell of the docks, the smell of a newspaper, and recognizes that this is the association that the others might have with him. This is the essence he can send out into the world. And he places his tobacco in his pipe next to the setting where he is set. And he waits and sees the light fading and prepares to weave a spell. He weaves the essence of wind and the essence of heart together, and like the circulation of the building, kind of like with a chunk of whatever the Saturnine air conditioning is. He kind of dematerializes and is blown away in this desire to weave secrets with invisibility, and becomes invisible. I'll need to see, what is that spell? That's the level of that. That's level 6. Perfect.
Okay. Yeah. If you spend the sorcery, then yeah, I think that Jerry's pretty low level. He's gonna not notice that you have taken off from the museum. He's not going to notice that you're still in the museum, I shall say. Mm-hmm. So you would be automatically successful. How long does the effect last?
Oh, let's see here. So it's let's see, default duration 1 round. So if I pumped it up, I believe that's allowed. Maybe Money Cook Games can tell us. I could spend a couple more sorcery to pump that for, an hour or 2.
You're about to get some rest anyway, so yeah, might
Beautiful.
as well. Yeah,
might as well.
You spend that sorcery, and you are invisible. Your passing goes unnoticed throughout this darkened museum of fabricated things from a world that everybody who comes back from must remember and must grapple with its reality in opposition to the actuality. And it's kind of this symbolic of your existence here as well, and how much you are torn. And I believe that as you kind of weave this spell and as you settle down to rest, you remember also Ashwin's offer to you to provide you a safe port in shadow, if that is what you desired.
And Maurice is struggling with this option and whether or not he should tell Kyrrie about it when he speaks with her.
All right.
And as he thinks this, a plaintive cry from Duncan echoes around in his brain, and he squeezes his eyes shut a little tighter, hoping that those cries don't follow him into the dream study.
Okay. So, guys, we are going to go break a little bit early today. We've been experiencing some audio difficulties on the part of one of our players. We're going to see if we can troubleshoot it. And once we return, we will see what ends up happening with regard to this dream study, and maybe what's happening with Gavriel and Nikolai as well. So, until then, guys take 5-10 minutes, go grab a drink, go take a bio break. Encourage people to come and watch the stream, as again we are donating with regard to in accordance with the number of people that we have watching, and we can't wait to see you guys back here. Hey guys, welcome back to the stream of episode 20, a hole in the world, an actual play of Monty Cook Games' Invisible Sun. Once again, I am your GM, Zach, otherwise known as Great Zamino. I am joined by my lovely and wonderful cast members, playing, let's just go ahead and do it quickly, having be Marcy, Bill, Hopper, and Marissa. Playing Gavriel, Maurice, Twigg, and Kyrrie, respectively. And one thing that is important to note, once again, guys, we are giving $20 to the Crown Heights Mutual Aid Fund for every viewer that we have over the course of the stream. So get on it. If you have friends that you want to have watch, please go ahead and tell them to tune in so that we can count them. Because this is a really helpful charity that helps a local population here in Brooklyn and New York City who are underserved and underprivileged, and it really means a lot during these times that we reach out and do our part, if not in the streets, then through donations, and if not through donations, then making sure that we listen and we make those voices heard. So just keep that in mind as we go through the rest of the game. We have done our test of audio, and I believe that Gavriel's back for all intents and purposes. So without further ado, after kind of like the dramatic scenes that have transpired, we are going to pick up with Gavriel. But the very first thing that I am going to do before picking back up is we are going to change some music. And you know what? In light of what's going on with Gavriel, this feels appropriate. All right.
Also, I'm going to start stripping, so tell people to if they give us money, I'll put clothes back on.
So Gavriel, a moment ago, a cloud of smoke with gold trim and touches and kind of sparks running through it exited out of your mouth while you were in this war raptor bird form and managed to lift Duren the Devoured, this horrible antagonist who had been tormenting you and your friends for the past couple of months or so, and you took them and you lifted them into the head of a demon and allowed it to essentially chew them up, or what remained of a demon, some creature. And just as soon as the life exited Jaren's body, after you lifted him away from your friend Nikolai, just as soon as the life left his body, that cloud poured itself back down in your throat. And before you can kind of recenter and find your prey anew, you felt the tug of magic pull you away to someplace that you felt you don't think you had any influence on this, because you were predominantly in this kind of hunter form, this hunter mindset. So instead, you find yourself in where Nikolai felt safest, otherwise known as his abode. And the two of you are deposited there. You find yourself, that blood red haze of bloodlust and anger and frustration coalesce once again to find yourself in an unfamiliar territory. What do you do?
So I think what initially happens first is there's a giant, oversized, feathery velociraptor, now very confused, in this smallish safe house that is whirling around, probably knocking things off of tables and desks and cabinets with her tail, and just a guttural, inhuman sound is trying to work its way out of a jaw that really is not made for human speech anymore. And she's just going, "Where am I? What happened?"
And I think whatever you are, you didn't realize just how tightly Duren had gripped Nikolai by the throat. Because Nikolai is struggling to get out words. I assume you're standing over him at this point.
Yeah, I am.
Yeah, and he's just. It's home. It's home. What do you do?
We were so close. But I think she's realizing that she's not, whatever happened is nowhere near her prey anymore. And very slowly she releases this spell. I don't even think she's really aware she's doing it.
Before you do, I'm going to turn a card. And the card drawn is the Lost Star. The picture is of a cat essentially playing with what looks to be a fallen star in the middle of a memo. It's reflected in a timepiece. So, we gaze into the night sky and we see the stars shining back down on us. We wonder what they are, but that's a secret for another time. Stars represent a higher world where everything is magnified. Everything having to do with the stars is far greater than it would be in our world. Love burns brighter, gems sparkle more beautifully, and children sing more sweetly. At the same time, disasters are more calamitous, anger seethes more deeply, and armies wage wars for longer. Okay. Stars fall, it happens, but what happens next depends on who finds it. So, everything is magnified. Everything in your hunter's instinct. I think at this point, you turn.
Oh, I can't release the spell, can I?
You cannot, but here's what's happened. You cannot release the spell, and you zero in on your prey, and again, you feel that dark, tempting voice in your head, and it's repeating the words. You don't know what the context is, you don't know what they mean, but in this case, it's just one of the words you hear. Serve. Serve. And as you, I think, begin to approach, that's when the star inside of you burns brightly, and as if a hand, maybe not just one hand, maybe 1,000 hands, grasp the halo at the center of your chest, and you hear, "Stop! You will halt this madness!" And Athariel and the angels have gripped you in a kind of a static pose, and it's in this kind of paralysis you find yourself as the spell fades. And I'm going to call that a GM shift, and I am going to award you a point of joy.
Okay.
All right. And so I think that this transformation calls for new music.
Woo.
As
Am I still frozen?
I think as soon as the raptor features begin to kind of remove themselves from your face as you begin to shrink back down to your original height, I think that the grip on your heart, because it's physically, it's anatomically, it has to be your heart at the center of you, the core of what's causing you to function. That ironclad grip of these creatures of the legacy begins to loosen.
Woo. And I can feel that. Like, is it evident that you can see the halo? Is it still spinning, or has it stopped?
It's stopped momentarily, but as
Okay.
the grip loosens, the motion begins anew. It begins turning, revolving in your chest.
not even going to pretend I know what that was.
And you hear Ithariel's soft voice, somewhat weakened.
We had to stop you from hurting yourself.
Then thank you.
And at which point I think you hear Nikolai, who are you talking to?
Oh, Nikolai, I think she starts to move and like runs into the kitchen and tries to get water in any capacity. She's not a medic at all. But she is immediately like 180ing on making sure he's okay.
Yeah, absolutely. You grab water easily enough from the kitchen. You basically, I think you kind of start very gently kind of pouring it down his throat. And I think that you move him kind of to a sofa that's in the foyer.
What happened back there? How did we get here?
I don't know. I think it was one of your
Stop. Don't, these are rhetorical questions that don't need answers. They do need answers, but not right now. Did we kill him? Is he dead? Just nod.
And he looks at you and almost kind of begrudgingly, let me ask you this. What do you want to hear?
I want to hear no. Because I think some of what Gav did was done in such a feral state that the Gav, in a more sensible manner, was hoping to get some answers to some long-standing questions.
And he looks at you, and I'm gonna turn a card and see what Nikolai says.
Terrifying. It's 2-in-1 scene. That always scares me.
This one's a good one, though. This is the Monarch. It is the sovereign of notions, cats, clocks, and wind. So whoever's that
I am notions.
Okay.
And clocks.
So you get +2 to your action.
Woo!
All of your actions until the next card turns are augmented by +2. Its meanings are authority, judgment, the land, the world. An authority figure judges the PC favorably. An authority figure takes the PC's side in a dispute. I think what ends up happening is that Nikolai shakes his head and says, "No, he didn't die. But I want you to do me a favor. If you would like, you can make an interaction roll."
I will do that, but I'm fresh out of interaction.
All right, your target is going to be a 6.
All right.
You get
That's a 2.
Okay, so you do not know that he's lying to you.
Oh, but I get +2. Doesn't matter. Still not gonna make it.
No. So yeah, you believe him when he tells you that no, he's not dead. I don't know about the magic, but we are here. Is what is important.
This did not go the way that I wanted it to go.
How is it supposed to go?
I wanted to take him. It was the only name that was in my file. There were answers to questions that I needed that I'm not going to get.
You know, there is other ways of getting answers to questions. Not through threatening. Could have asked me. I could have asked gently.
I'm not even sure that he knew anything. His name was in my file, and Marlon said that sometimes he puts down Duren's name in people's files if they were useful, not because they knew me or anything like that.
Well, you are a force to be reckoned with, I think.
I am tired of being used in this city. I am going up against things the only way I know how. And I'm not the strategist. I see a problem and I shoot.
What you need is someone looking out for you. Spotter. Yes.
Yes, but where are the others? If we were pulled to safety, then where did they go?
I do not know. That was a very powerful spell. Pulled us out of... Put us here.
It wasn't my magic. I can't do something like that. That takes deliberate intention, and I sometimes don't even know when I've done something.
Well, you have some powerful friends, I think. He's only explanation unless fortune smile on you. And you
Hasn't done a lot of that.
You hear a... at the door. He says, one moment. And he tries to get up and then...
No, stay. I will answer it.
Okay. You do that. Just be gentle. With him,
Depends-
whoever it is.
Depends on who's calling. And she's gonna... Whew, I think her gun is kind of fallen off. Here, somewhere in the chaos of what she's now caused in this living room.
Mm-hmm.
She grabs it, slings it over her shoulder, and marches over to the door to open it.
Okay. You open the door, and there is a man staring back at you. A bald man with a very sharp kind of goatee, very well kempt. There is a subtle black suit without a tie, all dark colors. There is a briefcase in his hand, and you hear him say, hello. I'm performing a wellness check.
Who are you and what do you want?
Varden Gold, I am Nikolai's therapist. How may I help you?
1 second. She shuts the door. Do you have a therapist?
Yes.
What's his name?
Varden.
She opens the door again. Come in.
Hello. And he very quietly kind of like steps into the threshold. He looks very carefully at you, looking up and down. There is on his briefcase, there is a very strange symbol. As though it's...
You tell.
It's kind of like it's almost like a skull and bones, but really what it is it's two hourglasses that appear to be perpendicular to each other. They're kind of made into a cross, but their sands of time have passed through each. There is light amount of sand in one. It's very kind of skeuomorphic. So there's a lot of kind of detail here, and emblazoned across in a circle around the symbol is the inscription in the Visley language, Church of Midnight.
Okay. Step into my parlor.
All right.
Yeah, Gav is following and leading him into the living room where Nikolai is laying, but she's watching this man like with renewed intensity. I think maybe even two of like her parrot feathers have spiked up.
Yeah.
Before she like runs a hand down them to keep that poker face intact.
Absolutely. And yeah, Varden kind of moves past you, opens his briefcase, and takes a small orb out. It's almost like a glass orb, but really what it is it's a bead that as soon as he pinches it with between his thumb and his forefinger, it emits a bright light, and he says, okay, I need you to look at me. And he passes the bead in front of Nikolai's eyes.
But what is that? What are you doing?
I'm checking to see if his eyes are dilated.
Who called you in the first place?
Nikolai's a bit of a risk, but that's between my patient and I. Okay. Reflexes are next. Dilation is normal. So what are the circumstances in which you found yourself at an elevated heart rate and state? And he's testing reflexes, you realize, with the knife of his hand, just testing Nikolai's reaction by kind of chopping him on the knee. Oh, that's very nasty bruising. Where did you get that? And Nikolai is just, it's nothing. There's no worry.
How did you know?
And Nikolai just looks at him and says, and nods. And Varden looks at you and says, because my patient had made an attempt at his own life much earlier.
What?
And
Nikolai, what?
And Nikolai kind of just looks away and doesn't make eye contact with you.
So you're tracking him?
I'm seeing to his well-being, yes. If that's what you mean.
I'm more concerned with how you knew so quickly that something had happened.
I think that what kind of transpired is a number of minutes, and I think that, yeah, it is kind of still disconcerting. And he looks at you, and then he looks at Nikolai, and Nikolai raises his hand, and underneath a fine garment, kind of pulled down, there is a bracelet that appears to be emitting light in a pattern.
I think like Gav reaches out and like grabs his wrist, not harshly at all, but it's just like looking at things being like, you let them track us this whole time? This whole time?
And he says, no, it's not like that. And at which point the church, spokesperson looks, it's just, we gave him that bracelet weeks ago.
I've seen many examples of the people that attend your church recently.
I do not speak for all of the members of my church. I merely attend to their well-being. I'm a physician.
An interesting cult that has doctors so at hand for every situation.
Look, I've had this conversation a million different ways with a million different people.
You'll have it again.
The church believes very sincerely administering to those who are overtaken by despair, who are suffering in their return to Satyrine, who are grappling with the realities of life after the war.
And you use that despair against them.
I do no such thing.
You do not help them.
We do help them. We help them very seriously. I swore an oath.
Explain then why so recently one of your own members murdered their own sister.
To whom are you referring?
Don't play games. Maybe you don't know. Maybe you are a doctor. Maybe you are honest. The people you work for, maybe not so much. But that seems very typical of this city.
I am something of a believer. I won't lie. I won't misrepresent. But I believe in the welfare of my patients first and foremost.
What does your church want with Nikolai?
It's what we want for Nikolai. We want to give those who follow us a sense of purpose.
For what end?
Oh, that's for the High Priestess to determine what end, but most important, look, this is the simplest way I can put it. Into every bit of light, shadow must surround it. For every great hero, there is an adversary. Without this adversary, without this shadow, virtue cannot be separate and shine that much more brightly. Just without evil, there is no good. That is at the root of the church. That is the simplest way I can explain it.
Listen, don't quote scripture to me. I'm Jewish. It doesn't matter anyway.
Very well.
You might think that you need to be some sort of antagonist to what's going on here. I could call that cowardice, and we can sit here debating politics all we want, but I don't want you here for very much longer. I don't trust you.
Nikolai, can you say with any degree of certainty, with every degree of certainty, that you are safe here? And you see his eyes kind of flash a magenta sheen to them. And Nikolai looks at him and says, I promise I am fine. Everything is fine. You are not needed, Varden. Thank you for checking. And Varden, that light over his eyes passes and his eyes regain their kind of normal coloring. And he says, very well. And I shall take my leave of you. But, and he reaches into his briefcase and pulls out a card.
I intercept and I grab it.
And yes, he says, if he tends towards any sort of self-harming behavior, just let me know. I'll do my best to help.
Thank you for your services, Doctor. You can see yourself out.
Very well. And he closes the briefcase and departs.
I think Gav has like one hand on the wall as she's leaning against it, watching him leave. And she, what does the card say?
The card says Varden Gold. Psychiatrist, psychologist, cognitive behavioral therapy specialist, Church of Midnight. And it gives you the address for the Church of Midnight in the cluster of cloisters.
All right. She pockets it and, still leaning heavily away from Nikolai, sort of whispering, so you were going to kill yourself?
I wish you hadn't heard that.
It's too late to put that back in the bottle. I did. I heard it. Nikolai, that's not... You would never... I don't know what to say to that.
I do not know what to tell you. It was... You don't understand. It was, you were there, we were fighting, and then you were gone, and then I was in this sad place. It was...
I do understand it. Why wouldn't I understand something like that? Nothing here feels real, and the only thing that is a place that they tell me never existed in the first place. Nikolai, there's not a day that goes by that I don't want to be dead for real.
Then you shouldn't feel that way. You were the best of us. You were...
said that it doesn't matter anymore. We are both here. And I can't keep thinking of what I might have been back home.
It doesn't matter anymore. We are better together. You and I, it's a different day. It's a different world now. That is all gone. It's all in the past.
It may be in the past, but there is nothing here. Just emptiness and lies.
But no. There's so much more to this. There's so much in this place. There are suns. There's a suns where the angels live. There's suns where demons go and dwell. There's a place where it's nothing but just life. There's so much more to it than what I assumed, and now I see that. Now that you are here, I know that has to be true. The actuality, it sent you back to me.
Then you should come with me. You should leave this church. My friends, we are trying at the very least to find out why none of us have any memories of the life that we used to have here. Why that is being concealed, why we are not like the other Vizsla. All of which they all have adjusted. They all remember in time, and there is nothing. I want to see this beauty that you have been able to find in this world. I don't see it yet. I cannot shake this feeling that there is something being concealed here, something dangerous or dark that someone does not want us to know.
Okay. I can help you find this, yes. I will do this. I don't know what this thing could possibly be. But if you let me, I will help you.
I would want nothing more than that. I want us to work together again.
Then we will. Now, Gavriel.
Yes.
Tell me, is there anything else that you want to hear?
So I'm so deeply suspicious by this, what I want to hear, but oh man. Oh no. What I want to hear?
Yeah.
I feel like I'm walking into a trap, but I'm gonna lean into that one, and I want to hear that Nikolai. I mean, once upon a time in ordinary world, when the war was over, she had hoped that when everything was said and done, they would get married. Despite the difficulties of her status in her country and his status. And it was just it was always like a future she didn't want to think about and didn't really want to daydream about, because if she did that, she would risk breaking her own heart, because at the time, the war felt all-consuming. And there was so much more at stake for her and her family and her people at large in the whole world, that thinking selfishly was not something that she was actively trying to do. But I think there was always an unstated knowledge there.
And I think that there's this flittering moment and flickering thought of that in your head. And I think that you kind of probably maybe move to walk away or pull away, and Nikolai catches your hand in one hand, and he brings your knuckles up to his head and just We're together again. Start afresh. New world. New opportunity.
Same conspiracies, same war, same problems.
But still together.
You always have to see things positively.
We try. Yes. And I think that the camera pans out from that scene in the living room. And we are going to cut there.
What does that mean, though? What do I want to hear?
Mm-hmm.
What does that mean, Zach?
I don't know. I guess you're going to have to keep on. I think you're going to have to dig a little bit. Let's see.
One fear.
Okay. So we are going to resolve where you guys end up in a little bit. But Kyrrie and Twigg. Kyrrie especially. Where are you sleeping?
Good question. I think this might depend on what you know, Twigg, of the area where we are, because I think Kyrrie's probably pretty unfamiliar with this place, this bit of the Topiary district.
Yeah, I don't think we're not actually technically in the Topiary district.
Oh.
Which I think Twigg relays to Kyrrie, like, this is outside the city. This is unclaimed land.
Okay. I think that, yeah, let me take a look at our map here. In fact, I will do that by switching over to the map screen. Oh, never mind. That's just a very fine illustration. Instead, I'm going to look at the map separately.
Ooh, ah.
Ooh, ah. Yeah, I'd say that actually, so I'd say you're just north of the Topiary district, and you are kind of in a pocket that's not too far from the ruined expanse. I think it's a part that you've managed to begin reclaiming. So I think that in order to get out of the city, you would have to go pretty far south, or you would have to go into either the Forever Falls or like something. It'd be pretty far.
Okay, but look, geographically, we're adjacent to the Topiary district, but we're like still within the city limits.
Exactly. Yes. Perfect.
It's just like a desolated area.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like something that's in the process of being reclaimed. In fact, I would say that you are actually not very far away from the ruined opera house in the northernmost part of the Topiary district.
Well, let's not go there. Gav said that sounded weird. I don't know what building cancer is, but ew.
It's serious biz. Maybe don't mess with it.
Maurice, Twigg just is like Rolodexing the very few people that they know.
Well, and Kyrrie then pipes, well, if there's no place that comes to mind, we could always camp.
Quercus. We can go to Quercus.
Oh. What's Quercus?
A friend.
Okay.
Zach, how long would it take to get to the
Not far at all. To the Talisbury Park?
Yeah, I was looking for my notebook.
Yeah, no, not far at all. It would take maybe 20-30 minutes to walk, and then you would probably be in the heart of the park by then, and Quercus would probably know that you arrived.
Well, I'm also jacked the hell up, so
yeah. So
yeah, Talisbury Park, where we helped Maurice's broken bird.
Oh,
yeah.
I can't say I've ever been.
It's pretty nice if you like green.
Well, I've never not liked green.
Well, that's a good place to start then.
All right. So you guys walk all the way back to Talisbury Park. You, I think it takes a while for you to find the topiary sculptures, but you find them, you do. You notice that some of them have moved.
not as in they've moved positions throughout the park, as in they seem to have moved into different poses.
That's honestly the least weird thing I've seen in this entire goddamn city.
Absolutely. Yeah. So you've seen them move, and I think you kind of probably move around to where you last remember meeting Quercus, not far outside of the pirate ship's topiary sculpture.
Yeah.
So, at this point, I think that you just hear that. I think that you probably arrive near the pirate's ship sculpture and just kind of like looking around, you're remembering where you found Tristan Farn and helped him, and kind of basically, took him to be apprehended by the authorities, but eventually cleared of his clearing his name. And that's when you kind of hear that same sound of wind whistling through reeds and through the leaves of weeping willows. Back so soon.
I mean, just dropping by to collapse, if that's all right.
And
I'm sorry, did that talk?
yeah, as you turn, yeah, sorry, go ahead. Yeah.
Oh, Quercus. And I think Twigg just kind of reaches out a hand to like help Kyrrie up onto this ship, Topiary. Like, and Quercus, meet Kyrrie.
A pleasure. And yeah, Kyrrie, as you turn, you see this very kind of like dryad, almost kind of folkloric figure that is stepping out, not actually out of the ship, but from behind, as you're kind of walking up the topiary, kind of the green gangplank of this, this pirate ship garden sculpture. And you see that she has long, reed-like weeping willow hair. She has, she's very verdant and very green. There are surfaces, it seems like very acute detail within her kind of sculpted physique. All of leaves very precisely trimmed, if that is in fact what happened. And she extends a leafy hand to you.
Kyrrie, seeing that Quercus appears to know proper greeting etiquette and procedure, is immensely relieved comparatively to the shrub, and shakes Quercus's hand as well. The pleasure is mine. Forgive me for asking, but you seem... I've never seen anyone quite like you. Do you have a language? That is not the language of the Vislay, that is.
Just the language of wind whistling through leaves and flowers.
Do you know if that's written? Is that a written language?
And you just literally hear it swirling around.
Twigg is literally off to the side. It's just like, oh god damn it.
I can
like,
I think you might be able to find it in the green, but I would have to check and see if we could impart that knowledge.
Fascinating. Well, if you are able to, I know we've only just met, but I must say languages fascinate me.
I will consider it. Actually, you know what? Make me an interaction roll.
Yeah, of course I will.
Mm-hmm. I'm gonna say this one's a 7, and take 1+1 because you are arriving with Twigg.
All right, perfect. That is a 6 on the die, so that is 7 itself.
Okay. And it says, wow, I can come back with something from my people if that would interest you.
Oh, if it wouldn't be too much trouble, that is. Anything that you feel comfortable sharing, I'm sure we would be most grateful. I would be most grateful.
I will impart your request through the roots of the world.
Kyrrie curtsies and then feels the enormity of the phrase roots of the world.
Yeah. Precisement. So, yeah, at which point I think Quercus turns her attention back to you, Twigg. So you wish shelter? That is fine. You are always welcome here. Do you say anything else?
Thank you. If there's anything I can bring next time, let me know.
Twigg, I'd like you to make an interaction roll.
Oh, that's definitely my best stat.
Again, it's going to be 7. You're going to have +1 to your action.
I'll spend one of my 2 bene on that.
Okay.
Well, that'll be 6 on the dice, so 8.
Oh, awesome. Okay. So at which point I think you notice that she is kind of lingering, as though she is just kind of like looking back at you. You can't really tell what she's thinking because it's all leaves. I think this is something that even you, it escapes you what she means. And so instead what she does is, in a moment of what appears to be decision, she says, "Give me your hand."
Twigg reaches their hand out.
And she takes the bottom of your hand in one hand and puts another green hand over it and presses very tightly. And you feel kind of almost like a bark-like roughness to the texture of your hand, but you feel it shift under her weight and under her pressure. And she presses into the palm of your hand. And when she takes it away, there is a slight indentation of a secret written on your hand. And it is the secret of Green Thumb. So
That's super fucking dope.
yeah. So basically what Green Thumb does is it allows you to get a ongoing bene or benefit to any green spell that you produce or cast. So I will find the exact text of that, and you may spend acumen to learn that secret at any point.
Absolutely.
Okay. And I assume now that you guys take a rest. Okay. So basically, Kyrrie, you go to rest, and there is a knocking in your mind, as if somebody gently knocking on a door or knocking on a desk. And you recognize that this is the entreaty of one person in dream study to request your presence to join.
Mm-hmm.
Or unless, Maurice, is there anything distinctive about this?
No. And in fact, he's quite nervous as he was completely oblivious to the entreaty last time, as they had always, planned these well in advance. The fact that he missed hers last time means that he is prepared for disappointment himself. And he's kind of pacing in this dorm room a little bit.
And I think Kyrrie, if there was some sort of sensual kind of sensible notion that you could get in addition to this knock, it's the trepidation of the knock, as well as you start hearing the shuffling of feet.
I think Kyrrie hears this, but kind of processes it. Takes a minute in dream, I suppose, but then puts her hand figuratively on what would be the knob of the door that opens their dream study, that opens that kind of tower academic room. Takes a breath and enters.
Maurice is in the dream study, awaiting you.
I didn't think you'd come.
Kyrrie takes a quick look over at Maurice's desk. Maurice, have you noticed that there is a letter waiting on it for you?
Oh,
before I
yeah.
arrived?
Oh, yeah. Anything that you had left for him, he has seen and probably read. So let's take that as having happened.
Cool. So she notices the letter is missing from your desk. And then her eyes quickly go back to Maurice and almost searching his eyes for a reaction, some sort of indication of where they stand.
Remind me the contents of this letter.
So the letter effectively was probably one of the more emotional things that you've read from Kyrrie, because it was written basically during the period that you didn't arrive in Dream Study. And so the letter effectively said, what are you doing? This isn't you. You just walk away from our mission from Twigg. You brought me into this after years of nothing. You waltz in with these strangers that you've collected, and then you decide to abandon it and abandon me. And well, perhaps I shouldn't be so surprised. You never had the patience for answers. Answers aren't instant. They require discipline, dedication, and time. That's the gist.
So all that tea got spilled.
Yeah. Which is why she's feeling a little trepidatious, knowing that it seems like he's read this letter now.
And you can see, actually, the letter's not neatly folded on the desk. It's in Maurice's typewriter that has appeared in this, and the letter you've written is flipped over. And he's typed out dedication and time on that, and sat with those words. So actually, yeah, so he turns around from the chair and says, I didn't think you'd come. Are you okay?
Yes, I'm fine. Twigg is fine, in case you were concerned.
You're with them.
Yes. I tried to keep us all together, but my magic, even at the full bent of my power, I could only sway enough for me to go along with them.
What happened?
Well, I don't know where we were. It looked like some structure I've never seen, like this rough asphalt kind of area where one might keep vehicles in the gray. But Twigg they broke and buried Duren, and I did my best to fix them, at least for now, enough to get them back to us.
So it's over.
I wouldn't say over, but yes, Duren is dead.
We need to find Gav. I'm actually at the Museum of the Lie.
Oh.
Not sure why, but where are you? Do you just a like, asphalt in the middle of nowhere?
Well, that's where we were. We're now in some place called Talisbury Park. I've just met a being called Quercus.
Quercus.
Oh, you know them.
Yeah. No, it all comes back to the Topiary.
I've never really been, I've never had much reason to go to the Topiary district.
Well, maybe in another life.
It's true.
No, you go.
I was just going to ask, Maurice, when was the last time we did this? Do you even remember?
It was, I was helping you cram for finals, if I recall.
Oh, that was so long ago. That was before I even became a postulant. It was right after I returned from the Grey.
You, you were trying to convince me not to be an apostate.
Yes, I would. Probably still would if I didn't know that it meant so much to you to, I guess, be
I
part of a
think
weaver.
that's pretty strong to loop in the weavers with the apostates. We're not as organized. It's something.
Anyone who's not a Vance, I just believe should be a Vance. That's perhaps part and parcel of being a Vance.
Don't make it hard for me to love you.
I'm sorry if I have.
No, I should apologize. I read your note.
Yes, I feared you had.
I was wrong. And you showing up now is kind of you just proving how much better you are than I am.
Oh, on the contrary, Maurice, I was actually just thinking over something that you said where you were right. Twigg told me back in King Nine's library when all of this happened that the Vancian campus was a cage, and that King Nine's library was just another type of cage, and that while both were great vantage points to watch the rest of the world, they aren't structures built to live in. And it reminded me of what you said about how we have to write our own stories now, because our past is a cage too. It's a cage for all of us. And I saw how much it was caging Twigg. Just seeing the way he looked at Duren, the not knowing, like he would never know. They would never know.
It's always been easier for me to live with the not knowing. I always thought that was a failure of imagination. But look, I just wanted to say, I'm sorry I hurt you, and you were right. We need to stick together, and you came, and you're with Twigg, and they're, I guess, safe for the moment. Once we find Gav, what's next?
That's really the question, isn't it? I guess, I mean, the one big part of what's next is Basil.
I've been thinking about that. If we're free to write our own stories, I think I can write his.
This may seem a strange question, Maurice. After all, what do I know of this? But do you love Basil? For who he is? Fictional, conceptual? I know that it's strange to speak of an idea this way. Figment, that's what King Nine says, but do you? Do you think you could?
Could I? That's another question. Do I? No, I don't know him. I stole him. Whoever I was needed him, and I plucked him from his own reality. For whatever reasons, I don't know. He calls me his father. I'm his abductor.
But he calls you father. He does love you.
That's assuming a bit much, I think.
I must admit I know little of love. Eros, agape, philia, storge. It's all neurochemical. Serotonin and dopamine, oxytocin.
Maurice interrupts you and walks over and takes your hand and says, "That's not what love is."
It can be
You showing-
manufactured.
You showing up here is love. And you know it instinctively. You hide behind your inability to define every moment of your existence. You act on it all the time. We can build something out of this. We can get the crew back together.
But if logic says that showing up is love, shouldn't we also show up for Basil? Is that not also love? Us agreeing to do what Basil asked, us trying to put things right?
You mean being blackmailed into an agreement? Whoever Basil is, I can take responsibility for. But that's my past. Whatever he is, look, if you're saying, could Basil and I develop a relationship and come to terms with our past and have dinner on Sundays? Sure. But that's not what needs to happen right now. Basil has information that is the key to our pasts, and this is a mercenary exchange.
But our past is a cage. If we're too bound to opening it and trying to figure out what it is, you said your past. It's our past now. Our present is making each of our pasts that we don't remember almost our collective past.
A month ago, I would have agreed with you. I was, I think, the only one among us very happy to ignore my past in perpetuity, build something new, because it ultimately doesn't matter. But what we were, there are no coincidences. And I think it's important to find out all of the things that have been brought into place. The grimoire, the hole in the world, the Knights of the Name. If we ignore it, we do so at our peril. We're not bound by it. We're not forced to live, to be the same people that we were, but we have to deal with it, and we have to know. We have to take responsibility. I think that's the most terrifying part of it.
I don't disagree, but I suppose I worry that we might lose sight of the important things in the process, or things that could become important. I'm not saying that you and Basil need to become best of friends, but I don't think you should shut him out just because you're searching for a past that you may never be able to find.
Why do you care so much about Basil?
I got to know him a little bit while you and Gav were away. We had a couple of conversations. I saw him with Avelia, and I saw him in King Nine. I saw that relationship, which is toxic, not something he could ever use as a model towards any sort of positivity or growth.
I mean, talk about someone that's tied to their past. He's literally confined to the imaginations of the author. He can never be anything other than what he was written to be. He is not like us.
A half smile kind of quirks up Kyrrie's mouth. And a month ago, I would have agreed with you. I don't think Basil is a person necessarily, not the way that we are, but it's clear to me that he's not just a copy of who's in those tales. He has agency, he has feelings, and yes, they're all channeled through logic, but that I understand. I am that way as well. But would you say I don't have agency or feeling just because I process the world in a logical way?
I'd say you do a lot of work to hide what's going on underneath. Whereas Basil, look, what does Basil want? He wants the people he cares about to escape their pre-written destiny. You have, prepared the ritual that could bring them all out. I'm wondering if there's another way. If I can rewrite their lives, change their future or their present. I'm not sure how that would work.
But that book, that story, it never was written. It existed only in the blue. It was something the author dreamt and never did.
That will
The
make
possibility of a novel.
even easier to bring it into life. I mean, I could literally just say, chapter 22. Basil woke up from the dream. All of his friends were fine. It's the power I have here could make this go away.
But is that what Basil wants? Does he want to go away, be relegated back into a story that never was?
Actually, that's the problem. I don't know what happens to him. If he stays, or if it writes him out of existence. That's the tough part.
Well, it seems that he's built a life here, and he's trying to build a bigger one, a deeper one, by bringing these other characters into his world. He's building a community for himself. Would you deny him that?
To bring his past into the future. It's not a cage.
It could be, but if it is, it's one he's built himself, not one that's been built around him.
I suppose I can't decide what's best for him. Maybe all he wants to do is save these people from their fate. Maybe he is interested in moving on. I don't even know what it took for a being such as him to find a new path in this existence. I imagine it was really difficult. Maybe not something he would want to lightly do to the people he's trying to save. What I'm saying is maybe we can give him the choice. We can present him the option. And he can choose his own future.
It seems like something he might want the counsel of his father for.
I'm not.
He believes you are. Whether you consider yourself to be that, you need to understand from his perspective, you are his father.
If he wants advice, I can give him some.
And so, I think we close on this moment. And all of you spend the night, rest, regain all of your pools. That said, I am going to leave with one final moment. Gavriel, you don't hear a on the door. Instead, you hear the sound of persistent scratching as if at the foot of the door.
What time is it?
It's very early in the morning.
She's awake. We've established that she's an early riser. She's gonna quietly go towards the entryway and open the door just a crack.
And you see a small canine face staring at you through the crack.
Duncan! And then she opens the door even further, and
Duncan jumps at your knees and essentially kind of like...
How did you get here?
There is a note underneath Duncan's collar.
Oh, what's this?
And you read
She
it.
opens it.
Yeah, you open that
Mhm.
note, and written on the note is a handwritten note in very elegant script. Very clearly handwritten, but handwritten impeccably. Please thank Twigg for their advice, and tell my father I wish to speak with him. Before anybody says anything, that was planned.
God damn it, Invisible Sun! Oh.
Oh no, you guys. And I think
This game is haunted.
no, that was
Very much.
That was just my plan. That was my plan. But anyhow, yeah, so I think with this joyful reunion, you guys, I think, spend the next day kind of figuring out how to reunite. And I think it occurs to me that there is one event that all of you know is happening at a place you all have been, one of you most recently, and that actually in part is being done for your honor. There is a concert in the Topiary district. The question is, how do you guys find your way there, if at all? What do you guys choose to do?
Twig's really hungry.
Okay.
I mean, I have motivations, y'all.
Yeah.
Like,
Think about this one.
I think you're more than welcome to grab a bite at Garver's if that is what you so choose.
I mean, I'm hella broke, so Twig is going to suggest that we walk in that direction because they are very uncomfortable with bumming food off people, and they're probably just going to try to dumpster dive.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And Kyrrie, I imagine you are walking besides them, kind of averting your gaze as that is going on, like trying to look more surreptitious.
Ooh, what do public trash receptacles in Saturn look like?
Well, they're basically all pretty much compost. At least in the Topiary district, because they're all basically growing out of the ground. Yeah.
That tracks.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a no plastic area.
Yeah, so that would be to your disposal. I will say that Gavriel, if you would let Duncan lead you, Duncan will lead you back towards the direction of where they sense and know Maurice is.
I was literally about to say that I think there's a moment where Gav is like talking, it's like, okay, where's the first place that they would try to get to? That's if they're all together. And then like Duncan's like, he starts like walking out the door, and I'm like, you know what? Scratch that. Follow the dog.
Excellent. Maurice.
I think we can take it as written that Kyrrie and Maurice did not end their conversation without deciding. So tomorrow, where are we meeting? So that happened. And I think Maurice is going to... what's the public transportation like in Satterine?
So the public transportation is
Civil engineering, folks. The important questions.
oh, absolutely always the gobsmack.
Oh, we've been taking taxis and snacksies and footsies.
Yeah.
Houndsies and-
No. I
You draw the
need
line
to
of footsies.
apologize for that. You need to
Draw the fucking
apologize.
line.
Draw a line in the sand. You have to decide what are you going to put up with today, not this.
Yeah,
Not
there's
footsies, motherfucker.
there is actually okay. So there is, and Krifu kindly asked. There is a Saturnine rail that travels down the main central kind of corridor called the Spine, and it is very much a surreal ride in that it corkscrews, it loop-de-loops. It's more akin to a roller coaster, but at the same time, everybody inside the core, nobody notices anything. Everything's very slow and even keel. In fact, this is the most reliable form of transportation. I think it costs 2-3 glass orbs for you to ride. So yeah, at any given point, you guys can take the rail down the Spine to get all the way north to the Topiary district, if that's in fact where you want to meet, and go to the concert, if that is your choice.
I do have a super important question, Zach.
Hit me. What you
What
got?
exactly what type of food and or weirdness am I able to scrounge from public trash receptacles?
You know what? I'm gonna turn a card.
Why not?
Why?
Best thing to turn a card for.
It's like Bioshock while you're just rooting through the garbage, finding a whole.
I can only I'm trying to picture Kyrrie's face as
Well-
Twig's just like I'll catch right up, and it's just like literally like half in, half out of a.
Oh
Yeah, and meanwhile, Kyrrie is dressed obviously for a concert because that is where she knows that they are going, and like she's probably has like a much even more fancy gown than she normally wears, with like tall Victorian collar and the puff peak shoulders and the poet sleeves, and so it just adds to the effect of like Victorian schoolmistress, like kind of looking at you with a little hint of disgust, like, what are you doing?
So, the card I pulled is the Weeping Priest. The priest,
Yikes.
yeah, yikes, indeed. It is the apprentice of Secrets, Ravens, Books, and Flame. Betrayal. Which one?
Secrets, Ravens, and Books are me.
Yeah. So now you have -1 to your actions.
Great. Fuck
yeah.
that card.
Betrayal, weakness, turnabout, disillusionment, loss. The priest sits alone, filled with sadness or remorse. What has happened? What's causing his misery? Happiness, success, and good fortune are fragile things, easily taken away by the cruel hand of fate. This is particularly true when there's a probably unseen weakness in a plan. Do I weep most for the wrongs I have witnessed, or those I have committed? Okay, so this is
Just for dumpster diving.
you did, and this is what you get.
The wrongs you have committed were
The-
dumpster diving.
Yep, you are eating the wrongs you've committed. They taste vaguely of Twinkies gone off. No, so here's the thing. I am gonna say that with the Weeping Priest card, you actually are dumpster diving, and there is a practically immaculate pile of communion wafers in one of the trash cans, and it's
So-
and you
Yeah. How much is a pile?
like a pile is like, imagine that somebody just dumped their entire stock of communion wafers.
As one does.
What's wrong with them?
So, query about the religious structure of Saturnine. Do we infer that these are Church of Midnight communion wafers?
These are communion wafers that are very clearly from the gray, like they are as though somebody like made them in the gray. Like there's like, you can like concoct a whole story. Maybe just like somebody came back from the actuality and, oh my God, my God's not here anymore. What the shit? Just like, there's any number, just like maybe these are evil communion wafers. Maybe somebody just seeded them to like give themselves like a bit of that time. What, like, it's the choice is, what do you believe happened?
We should definitely spend the rest of the episode getting to the bottom.
This is the greatest mystery of all time here.
Twig is definitely, so I just double checked to make sure Plentiful Pockets is still there. It is, as are my other two active as hung spells, as it were. Twig is gonna fill up pockets with communion wafers.
Oh my god, yeah, absolutely. You're just like, yeah, all right, this is a sign.
There's a lot of shoveling, and then like just kind of like a light. Ooh, I'm just picturing. Twig runs like David Tennant, as the 10th Doctor. So just kind of like you're like, bodies aren't supposed to move like that.
And I would walk 500 exactly when he's doing that for the performance. Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah. I also love price checks. Okay. All right. Just for that, we're gonna switch back to the main.
Sorry.
Yeah. How dare you? No, it's all good. So I will say, yeah, like you guys managed to. God
damn it!
you managed to find breakfast. That's for sure.
Oh boy.
Definitely, I think Twig's smart enough to realize that Kyrrie is not going to take kindly to proffered Christ checks.
No, certainly not. I think probably it triggers memories in Kyrrie of like growing up in the gray, like when she was a small child, and she's just like, nope, no, thank you.
Did you say Christ checks?
Yes, he did.
Bill just put it in the chat like a monster.
Oh my god. Christ checks. Anyway, yeah. The Catholic inside of me just like whatever vestige is left just breaks apart.
I'm just on the outside being like.
Okay. So after a great deal of dumpster diving, some dog-related misadventures, and some earnest kind of following the path, I think you guys find yourselves at the music concert, which I believe necessitates some new music. And I think actually, yeah. So I think, yeah, you guys are kind of like in this holding area. There's a lot of people. And what you can tell is that the crowd is outside of the radio station. It's getting closer to kind of like the middle of the day. People seem to be happily kind of wandering about, like talking animatedly, and the entire population of the Topiary district seems to be here. Probably a little bit less than 1,000 people, maybe a couple thousand, you're not sure. But they're all kind of scattered around, kind of milling around, kind of talking animatedly about the music and about everything that's going on. You see that there is a main stage set up off in the distance. You can see that opera house some distance away. You can see Garver's down another path. You can see everybody's kind of having a good time, kind of killing time. You notice a ton of Elderbrin flitting about the crowd carrying drinks, and you realize that Garver's is also catering the event. And there's probably like a side stage inside of the main radio station. So it's a very interesting, like it's a lot of fun. Like it's an animated time that you guys are having as you kind of, and I think at this point, at some point, I think all of you are kind of like on edge looking for each other. And yeah, I think that, why don't you guys tell me what each of you would be doing at the concert once you get there. And in fact, I think we're going to jazz this up a little bit.
Yeah. I like to think that Gavin, Nikolai, and Duncan are kind of milling around outside in the front entrance, mostly because like she's got the dog with her and they probably don't let the dog inside the music hall. I'm going to take that educated guess and say that's true.
Well, the dog
I'm
is...
sure there's weirder patrons.
The dog is technically a thought form, and weirder patrons abound. Oh, absolutely.
And corrected.
Yeah.
then in that case, then she might go inside if she doesn't see y'all right away. She's sort of, I like this. She's like, she's sort of letting Duncan lead because she knows that at the very least Duncan will lead her to Maurice somehow, some way, because that little puppy is pure, and probably just wants to go home. There's like, she's intently like focused on the dog, like pushing people past the crowd as she's going through.
And then
when does she see you?
When does she see you?
Maurice.
Maurice is helping himself to a plate of hors d'oeuvres and grabbing a small drink, and is looking. If you didn't know better, you'd think he was just here for the concert. His facial expression does not say anything about him looking to meet up with people. And he knows that he is looking for Kyrrie and Twigg, and that they have agreed to meet, and perhaps to maybe take their next steps together. So Maurice is kind of looking around, and I think I think Gav sees him before he sees Gav.
I like to think that Duncan sees you before any of us, because we hear a very excited bark, and then all of a sudden Duncan takes off, and Gav's in hot pursuit with Nikolai close behind, and I think the first thing you would see would be that little sweet boy.
And so a black and white ball of fur comes tearing at him, and even though this is a very small dog and Maurice is a stout fellow, the dog does knock him over and his drink spills and the dog is just kind of on top of him licking his face, and he doesn't see Gav yet at this point, and he's just kind of in shock and disbelief and kind of silently crying, and the Duncan's licking his tears.
I think Gav would be like now standing over you, hands on her hips, being like, see, I had the suspicion that the dog would lead us right where we all needed to be.
Well, I cannot say that she is ever mistaken either. And
you watch the expression on his face of pure joy to see Gav. As soon as he hears Nikolai's voice, it twists into a scowl, and he looks back at Gav and says, like, of course, it's the Topiary district, of course. And he gets up off the ground and
I think
gives
she
you
actually like holds out her hand to like kind of help hoist you back up.
And he goes immediately into a hug that kind of knocks you off balance and squeezes your halo a little bit too hard.
There. I had a feeling that we would all be converging here. It was the one thing that I remembered was happening. Oh, too tight. Okay.
Gavriel or Maurice, you can make a perception roll for me.
Oh, I absolutely will be doing that.
Okay. It is going to be a difficulty 8.
I'm gonna pop a bene into that.
Mm-hmm.
I'll spend 3 bene.
Exactly 8.
Okay.
Nope.
All right. So
It was a 6 total.
Gavriel, there's something strange that I think that you notice that 2 things with that 8. You notice, one, that Duncan is very happily kind of atop Maurice, but at the same time you see him occasionally kind of like almost like squirrel, like kind of just looking off in a singular direction. And there is another thing that you notice, which is that you also notice that there are you notice actually the head of the radio station, and you notice Songbird are off stage not far away, and they seem to be about to deliver some sort of announcement. So that's what you get on your perception roll. Maurice, you are overtaken by the consternation of hearing Nikolai's voice, and then the absolute joy of seeing Duncan again.
And Maurice not subtly kind of puts his body in between Gav and Nikolai and starts talking to Gav and discussing the conversation he had with Kyrrie. Kyrrie's all right, Twigg's all right. They're going to be here. We can look together, and we can we'll be together again.
Yes, because we have so much still to do.
Speaking of Twigg and Kyrrie, how do you guys arrive at the concert?
Well, I think Kyrrie swans in. Like, this is very much like her milieu. She loves these sorts of events. This is where, as a socialite in the Grey, she would frequently attend concerts in London. And of course, there are some differences I would expect in a Saturninian concert versus one in the Grey. But, she is kind of dressed to the nines, walks in very prim, her posture quite... it's almost stilted, but sort of glides onto the floor and then spots the hors d'oeuvres table and kind of nudges Twigg.
Oh, Twigg is so on this. I think specifically, just kind of gives just 1 second. Go find Maurice. I'll catch up. I promise.
You're sure?
Positive.
Okay.
Right. Kyrrie looks a little, wary about the idea of leaving you alone. But sort of does as you ask and has maybe one backward glance, but then goes off into the crowd.
Okay. So starting with Twigg then. Twigg, you begin making your way to the hors d'oeuvres table.
I'm gonna try to be like, I'll take that to a tray of drinks from somebody.
In your haste to grab this and kind of spin around, you bump into somebody, and I need you to make a perception roll for me.
I will put a Bene in that. That's it's a 6 on the dice. I'm double checking to make sure I don't have. Yes, that's a 6 on the dice.
Okay.
So 7.
All right. So a 7, we're going to call it a mixed success, which is you bump into a large person, a rather kind of large framed person. And as you do, I think you're expecting some sort of pardon me, excuse me, I'm sorry. Or you expect to have to say it. That person just walks by you. And you just remember they felt, it was really kind of like you were expecting more resistance, but they were kind of very soft where you kind of struck them. But it kind of lingers with you for a second. What do you do?
I'd like to cast Scent of Magic.
Absolutely.
Just give a little snorfle snuffle.
Okay. All right. So for the audience and for me, once again, can you read the text of Scent of Magic?
Yes, I can. So it is a level 2 spell. It is indigo. Its facet is meta magic. And for a moment, I gain the ability to sense magic by its unmistakable and unique odor. Not only can I sense the presence of active magic near me, but I can use an action to examine a specific magical effect or item. I can also identify it.
Okay. So you smell, and I am going to turn a card. All right.
I scent is so powerful. I love that. That's the direction they went with this.
All right.
That is a core rule book spell.
The card is Lucky Coin. Notions, cats, clocks, and wind. It strengthens silver magic. It diminishes gold magic. Good fortune, wealth, freedom, unexpected luck, unstructured. We put a lot of value in objects. We place a lot of importance in their presence in our lives. Some people might have a favorite shirt, a trusty handkerchief, or of course, a lucky coin. Armed with a talisman such as this, no harm can befall us, but we only barely understand the truth of such things. The luck they bring, if they work, never comes in an unexpected form. If you find good luck charm, hang on to it. They're rarer than you'd think. Okay, so you snorfle, snuffle, and oh, it smells like curdled milk, like like milk gone bad. And you realize, as the synesthetic properties of the scent of magic manifests, you realize that it's a facet of the dark. And it is, what you are scenting is a trail from the point of impact that you just had, wafting into your nostrils.
Alrighty then. God, why am I like this? Did I get the tray of drinks?
You did. You have it in hand. I think you got a little bit jostled, but I think it's like, okay.
Yeah,
Wasn't that hard of an impact.
Yeah, I'm gonna definitely follow along holding a tray of drinks. If anybody tries to grab one, it's just raise it up on. Oh no.
It's a moving target. Yeah.
Nope.
Okay. You follow along, and we are going to cut back to Kyrrie. Kyrrie, you're making your way through the crowd. You are, I assume, looking for Maurice and Gavriel.
Mm-hmm. I am indeed.
Okay.
Do I happen to spot any Vants while I'm walking through and looking for Maurice and Gav?
Make a perception roll for me. I'm going to say this is a pretty large crowd for this area. I'm going to say this is a 7.
All right. Well, it is a straight roll because I am fresh out of perception, Benny.
Okay.
And that's 4.
Okay.
So no.
Yeah, I think.
No.
Well,
Hang
I
on,
think,
didn't you refresh your pools after resting?
yeah, everybody refreshed, right?
I did.
Mhm.
Yes. Well, in which case I only have 1 to begin with, so I guess it's 5.
Yeah. Okay. Well, you can choose not to spend it if you like, but basically the thing that as you're looking around, there's a lot of people here. I think that there are some people that strike you as very well, kind of like befitting the stereotype of a book mage. They seem like very well put together. They all seem to be here to have a good time. You would just be hard pressed to pick out somebody and say, that's a postulant, that's a Vance, that's a Cantrell, that's, they're not wearing their insignia on their sleeve. They seem to be out having a good time.
Gotcha.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, go
I
ahead.
think Kyrrie will continue her search for Gav and Maurice then.
Okay. Yeah, and as you're kind of making your way towards kind of like the center area, you do hear a couple of happy yips. But also, and you kind of hear, I think there is the spectacle somewhere in the kind of outskirts of the crowd of somebody who seems to have been toppled by their dog. There are a number of Vizsla and other people and goers of the crowd who are, kind of like looking on amusedly, like, oh, it's a cute dog and oh, it loves its owner. And you probably make out at a distance that it is Gavriel and also Nikolai, as well as Maurice and Duncan.
So Kyrrie's going to quicken her step, I think, and hurry up to them. And basically, I think her approach is going to be quite subtle. So I think she kind of would have blended in with the rest of the crowd, admiring Duncan up until the point at which he kind of separates from the crowd and comes forward. So her appearance probably surprises you guys.
Okay, and as you are making your way through the crowd, I need you to make a perception roll.
Will do. Oh, on the floor. We're going to roll again. That is a 6.
Okay, so on a 6, as you're walking through the crowd and wending your way, you hear something distinctive. You hear the meowing of a cat, as though separate from the rest of the crowd, as almost as if it like resonates oddly in your hearing. And as you're kind of like looking around, you notice some people also notice it too, but some of them are just a little bit confused as well as to where it's coming from.
Do I notice anything in common about the people that I've noticed react to the meow?
They're just in your immediate vicinity.
Do I know anything about the origin? Can I suss it out or like look around, investigate further?
Yeah, absolutely. Give me a intellect roll.
Sure. That one I can pump Bene into.
I'm going to say that this one is a 7.
All right. And I've also got searching where I get a +1 to that.
Excellent.
So
So start with 2.
yeah. So that's a 6 + 2 is 8.
Okay. As you are searching around, you are looking through, you see on the edge of the concert a very tall, pale woman. Her hair is covered in her face is covered by white hair, and her arms are unnaturally long, as though they reach past her knees, and she seems to be walking slowly towards the concert. And that's when you hear Songbird take the microphone of the concert and begin saying, ladies and gentlemen, we are so happy to have you here. We're so happy to have you here in the Topiary district to celebrate all of this development, this resurgence of Saturnine. In honor of the people that we lost in the war, in honor of all of the people here who do so much to renew the district, it is our pleasure to gift you with the music that we have been working on for so long. And as she speaks, you hear and she kind of looks around nervously, says, is that somebody let a little kitty loose? Maurice, we cut back to you. Maurice, you are on the ground. I am going to do a GM shift towards despair. As you look across the ground and you see a very familiar moonlight shimmer of somebody's their pants, essentially. And your eye travels up and you see hitting your eye some distance away, at least maybe 300-400 feet, maybe 200, you see Ashwin. And it's as though they're standing stock still. What do you do?
Maurice stands up and looks at Gav and says, "I just saw something. I saw." He glances at Nikolai and he whispers to Gav, "Ashwin, there." And Maurice turns his body to get a better look. Has Ashwin moved at all?
Ashwin is standing stock still, but it seems to be that they are slowly turning and beginning to walk away.
And I can see this too.
You can.
That's odd, right? Even for your friend.
Come with me. And Maurice begins kind of moving through the crowd a bit.
Yeah, I mean, she's gonna give a nod to Nikolai too.
Right, just like,
It's probably coming whether you like it or not.
well, all right. And then that's when both of you begin hearing the yowl of cats.
What is that?
And that is when all of you hear a panicked cry as you hear the hissing of a cat as it appears to jump onto somebody and scratch them. And I'm gonna change the music here real quick. So you see a cat attacking someone, and it seems to be feral and rabid, and it's savagely attacking somebody in front of you. Twig, as you kind of are following the scent, you are following behind the person that you bumped into, and
Yes.
as you look on, you see somebody in what appears to be workman clothing with a large kind of rag covering their left side, which is inordinately larger than their right side. And so much so that they seem to be dragging something with them. And you think it must be like some sort of equipment or some sort of sack, but you realize that the thing that you see them dragging is a long clawed arm. At which point people are starting to recoil as the rag falls away and you see a massive lobster-like clawed arm being dragged by this very pale, sallow-faced person. Their eyes sunken deep into their head, their eyes black, and their skin mottled. And they seem to be dragging through the crowd and just moaning.
That's... I'm going to my player dashboard and looking at my inventory, because I think I have something semi-relevant, and and we have I'm going to use one of my incantations.
Okay, what's that?
It is entitled Each Scale Denotes Devotion, and it is a spirit snake appears coiling around your neck and strikes at anyone who gets close enough to touch. It deals 3 points of damage.
Okay. All right. Are you doing that to, are you getting close enough to touch it?
To touch this thing with the claws?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Twig is ready, does that, and keeps the drink tray, because of course, and is ready to draw their weapon from the spell, My Body is a Weapon, except instead of pulling it out as a handgun, they're going to attempt to pull it out as a sword.
All right. So you bring your hand to bear on this creature and you kind of spin them around, and the serpent strikes, dealing 3 damage, forcing it to recoil almost immediately. And it brings its left hand claw almost up in defense. It almost knocks you back for how large this thing is, at which point somebody in the crowd looks at this thing and says, "Cyst spawn! Cyst spawn!" and begins, like, the crowd begins running away. This thing, whatever it is, these people know what it is. And as so you're going to go ahead and you've readied your weapon. You've cast your spell. We're going to turn another card.
Yes.
All right. And this one is the Alchemist. It is the adept of Secrets, Ravens, Books, and Flame. Complexity, Transformation, and Knowledge. The Alchemist, yeah, all right, you're the apprentice. Okay. The Alchemist seeks transformation, usually in the sense of advancement or enlightenment. She hopes to better herself through understanding. As adepts of the Secrets family, the Alchemist is of course complicated. Her knowledge is deep and vast. Magical processes surround her. Chemicals, substances, and the flame that catalyzes them all dance upon her fingertips, but her true raw materials are her own essence and her own soul. Okay. So not only, so here's what ends up happening is you take a look at this thing and you instinctively know what it is and that you understand what's going on. This thing is a cyst spawn. It's as though a flash of memory. You remember when the hate cyst struck. You remember when things landed in the crowd and started mutating, started hurting people. This is a product of those hate cysts, one of which, this thing is called a Claw Sinister. It is essentially, its left-handed side just swells to enormous proportions and attacks randomly. It's basically kind of like a zombie. And so you know this, and not only that, but you know that where there is one cyst spawn, there are several, and they typically come from a source.
All right. So knowing that this is an enemy, immediately I think I will actually swap that. It goes to draw a blade, and actually it's kind of dope. You see it almost like the hilt of a sword start to come out as Twigg literally reaches into their chest, into that hole where there's this bleeding, there's this constantly open wound, and pulls out the revolver, and anticipating combat at some point.
Excellent. Okay. And the next thing that happens, we're going to cut from you back to the other three. Kyrrie, as you are you have heard that yowling, and you have seen that tall woman. You realize that she is an albino, that she is pale, milky white complexion and skin mottled, and she is beginning to advance on the crowd. And as the crowd, as she advances, what appear to be emerging from her skirts, from below her, kind of like this really ratty shift that she is wearing, are what appear to be dozens of feral cats, and they are jumping all over the crowd. I need you to make an intellect check.
Yeah, all right.
She doesn't know much about cats.
I do know much about cats. Yep, all right, I'll pump a bunny into that as well. That's an 8 on the dice.
Okay. This is what's known as a feral shepherd. These things are essentially, they are a form of cyst spawn. They reproduce around hate cysts, and these things live in the ruined expanse. And for whatever reason, these things, they tend to have all these stray cats that act almost hive-mindedly, and they seem to really get more power through sadism. They look to invoke the cries of death, and that is what gives them their power and what satisfies them.
Do I get a sense of whether or not the cats that are being emitted from this woman are spellcraft, or whether or not they are like tangible real cats?
I think easily enough with that roll, they are very tangible, very real cats. They are just mutated or rendered rabid or feral.
Gotcha.
People are starting to panic, and this creature is starting to advance. Okay, what do you do?
Well, I think I'm probably going to advance on the cat that I saw, that had just attacked the person. And I think I will, let's see. I think I will move up to what I suppose so one other follow-up question. The cats that are very real, they don't seem magical in any respect though, like they don't have casting power themselves.
No, they do not. They do appear to be augmenting the abilities of the shepherd though.
Okay. So I am going to see. I think I will use my Maleficent spell to attack the cat, which hurts me deeply inside because I don't like to attack cats, but all right. So this is a level 3 spell, +1 die. I unleash channeled anger in the form of an energy projectile that strikes a target within long range. My Maleficence is unique to me, and I determine what form the energy takes when I first cast this spell. The target suffers physical damage equal to the spell's level, plus an additional effect based on the energy type. Ongoing damage for fire, hitting additional targets for lightning, that kind of thing.
Excellent. Okay. So tell me, so you're targeting what, the cat or the shepherd?
The cat.
Okay. Go ahead and fire. Tell me what this looks like, and what you roll.
Right, so roll first. And that's an 8.
Okay.
So what this looks like is I sort of see, I see this woman, and I see the cats, the kind of feral cats, swarming out from under her skirts. And I put it together in my mind that these cats have been like trapped, corrupted in some way by this creature. And that just fills me with this like raw, unchanneled emotion that like someone could take these cats and put them to their own ends in this way, in a way that harms them. And so I think this comes out as this anger is unleashed, kind of like an energy projectile. It looks like just raw emotion, like kind of sparking lightning, like electricity. And this recommends that for raw emotion, it's the effect is losing the next turn.
Okay.
So that would be, I think, what kind of happens in terms of how Kyrrie's Maleficence is coming out.
Yeah. You expel this hatred, this raw emotion. Remind me, how many targets does it have? Just the one?
Just the one, yeah.
Okay. This cat just I think it basically vaporizes as soon as it is struck by the projectile. But and I think so much so that it kind of it jumps to another cat. It actually ends up burning it enough that it collapses. At which point the feral shepherd turns its attention to you, and you can see this hair that's kind of covering its eyes and its face, and it's with these long churchyard-like teeth, and it just goes as it turns its attention to you. Okay, Maurice, Gavriel, what are you doing?
I think we're starting to see, or what can we see from our vantage point, just so I'm very clear on what is in our line of sight?
You can see off in the distance, you can see Ashwin Khatri seemingly kind of like moving almost in crazy. It's striking how slowly they're moving away from the event. It seems like almost like in a fugue state. And you can also see this feral shepherd that has cleared a path around it while these feral cats are attacking people all over. The other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to turn a card because you cast Maleficence. We'll see if you get any additional. Oh wow, this is crazy. Cat, companion, notions, cats, clocks, and wind, solitude, curiosity, cleverness, dexterity. Yeah, so you now there's a card with a 3-headed cat that is on the Path of Suns.
That's so bonkers.
The PC avoids danger that otherwise would have harmed them. The PC finds a clever solution to the problem. Okay, so when you cast that spell, Kyrrie, you realized that not only did the power of the feral shepherd seem to diminish, she literally kind of shrinks as the two of them die. But also, Gavriel, you see that the magic has cleared a path. And not only that, finally, there is somebody out from the crowd you realize is Avance, is casting a spell. So Gavriel, that's everything that's going on in front of your full range of view.
So that is actually all of my things, by the way. I am Notions, Cat, and Clock.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm gonna take that path. I think I can see that it's Kyrrie.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm gonna call out her name, as I'm just like gonna be running towards her. I think like the rifle is like coming off of my back now and putting it at the ready. Just like, what is going on? What happened?
I don't know. There's this creature, this woman with, it seems to have repurposed cats, these poor unsuspecting feral cats, and it's using them to her own ends.
It's not the ghost, is it? I'm like loading the gun.
Not insofar as I can tell.
Good.
Cats are corporeal at the very least.
I'm gonna try to like take aim down my sights. Just I think I'm gonna fire.
All right. You may go ahead and make a roll. I need you to make 2 successes. Level with, let's see, the cats have been damaged, so I'm gonna say I need you to hit 6 twice.
Whew, all right. Here we go.
So spend bene, do whatever you gotta do.
But what is, like, is this just a standard attack? Is there something?
You can make it magical with sortilege if you'd like.
That's an 8.
Okay, that's 1 success.
That's an 8.
All right, okay. So you fire your gun, and with Telestic Strike, how much total damage do you do? 6. All right. This thing, you blow off half of it as it seems to be reaching for a patron of the arts within this concert, and that arm vaporizes along with the shoulder it's attached to, and you see it recoil, and what appears to be this viscous shadow is leaking out of the wound, and it seems to recoil, and it seems to be retreating backing away from the crowd. The cats are beginning to kind of also sense their master's weakness and is beginning to run towards it. Maurice, you're up.
Maurice has not stopped moving towards Ashwin, and I'm looking up exactly how how mechanically I'm going to move quickly. But yeah, he's going to weave together heart and wind, and with this courage and speed, he's going to move unnaturally quickly to close the distance between himself and Ashwin.
Excellent.
We'll figure out what the fuck that is.
Yeah, so tell me what the effect is. If you are traversing distance, it's not going to have a target, and you can just do it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm finding things that's like teleport, which is not quite what I'm doing here, but yeah, I'm moving a very long distance instantly is a level 4 effect, so we'll just call it that.
Okay.
Yeah.
You feel the wind of the aggregate power your movement, and you push yourself towards Ashwin's side. At this point, I think you do reach Ashwin, but that is probably going to count as your turn because you've cast a spell. Mm-hmm. I am going to turn a card. I'm going to see something real quick. Whew. Oh, wow. Okay. This is the Angel, the defender of notions, cats, clocks, and wind. Judgment, safety, assistance, light, and justice. No greater representation of goodness, light, or justice exists than the winged form of an angel from on high. Left behind as a part of the legacy, they attempt to aid, to teach, and to protect. However, some angels also pass judgment. Their vengeance can be terrible to behold, their anger something no mortal ever wishes to experience. Thus, the angel represents both the open palm of altruism and the terrible fist of retribution. The angel is notions, clocks, and wind. So
and angels.
Still me.
Yeah. So you get +1 to all of your actions. So that's particular to you. So you find your way to Ashwin, and Ashwin is struggling against you as if like being pulled. And you realize that they are moving towards the opera house as they're like, and you're trying to like hold on. This is your action, but with that Angels card, you've got a solid grip, 1. And the second thing you notice is that Vance finishes the spell and a bunch of Parasod agents teleport into the crowd. And Kyrrie, you see exactly for what they are. They're all wearing these black uniforms with red trim, and they are beginning to do disaster assessment, casting defensive spells, beginning to take protective stances of the crowd. So with that being said, however, Maurice, you notice there are these tendrils of shadow moving past the shoulders of Ashwin. Twigg, you're up.
I'm gonna shoot this motherfucker in the face.
Okay, you do that. Give me a roll.
I made all my dice disappear. Let's see. I'll put a sortilege into this. Why not? Can I put a sortilege into this?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. So I have a +1 with light ranged weapons. So that is a wow. Fuck me, right? That's a 0 and a 2.
All right.
On which die?
The 0 is on the not the magic dice.
Okay, so no flux. So you do. I think what happens is this thing throws its arm up and it impacts the carapace, and that blood just kind of splatters across it, as though kind of caught. Are you using Fortinbras, or are you using the blood gun?
I'm using the blood gun.
Yeah, and then it just kind of impacts and then like looks to you, and it's going to attack you.
Right.
All right. We are going to. I need you to go ahead and
Dodge.
dodge. I need you to beat a 3.
I don't. Oh, I guess if I roll a 0, I can fail this.
Yeah, exactly.
I rolled a 4.
Okay.
So
this
it's a 6 total.
Yeah, it's easily to telegraph this thing because it's moving so slowly, and the claw impacts, and at that point you see over its shoulder what's going on with your friends on the other side. So we're going to quickly cut back to Kyrrie and Gavriel. I'm going to give you guys one quick action to choose. Do what you guys are doing, and then we're going to end the round pretty soon after Maurice has to do something. So one after the other. What are you guys doing?
So remind me, Zach, I can cast the same advanced spell twice, right?
Right. You can also just release it.
Okay, yeah. So I will, I guess, have held then Maleficence from my prior usage, and so I'm going to use it again in this instance, and that will be it for my spell casting for the day.
Okay.
At least as far as advanced spells go.
Okay. Are you using it on the shepherd?
Not to be that dude, but didn't you say you missed your next round?
Yeah, that's true.
No, they missed their next round.
Oh, because
The
it's that dope.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
Nice.
that the cat exploded.
Yeah.
Yes, it did.
Because the cat exploded.
That became
Okay.
irrelevant.
So what are you targeting?
Now I'm targeting the woman,
What?
Yeah.
And what level is Maleficence?
3.
Okay. I need you to hit 2 twice with your dice.
Okay. And
Twice with your dice.
Twice with your dice.
that is a 6 first time. And that's a 2 the second time.
Lucky you. Okay. You fire Malevolence again, like Maleficence again, that like emotion that you channel, it's exhausting you. But you see this thing fired, you exhaust the spell slot, and this thing disintegrates into shadow. And the shadow hits the ground and it begins traveling back along a path. And you realize that it is heading towards where Ashwin is off in the distance. Gavriel, what are you doing? You see this thing erupt.
And I see the shadow path.
Yeah, it's moving past your feet.
There's something else happening here. And I think that she's gonna give a shout. Hopefully some of the other patrons can hear us. Like, everybody get back.
Yeah.
Just sort of clear the entire area. And she's going to follow the shadow.
It's gonna swallow it.
Follow the shadow.
I was gonna say.
My God.
All right.
Although that would be cool too.
Stranger things have literally happened in this game.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah. All right. You're gonna follow the shadow. I think it's easy enough to do. If you want to take another action, you can. Just tell me what you're thinking.
I'm curious to see if this thing is targeting Ashwin or if it's coming back to Ashwin. So the gun is like half trained.
Mm-hmm.
But she thinks this is just so random. She's no real idea like what caused this, how this is happening, or why.
Yeah. Absolutely. And yeah, make me a perception roll.
It doesn't matter if it's a 2. Does not matter at all.
There is something that is traveling on the wind as this thing, a word, but you can barely make it out because it seems to be this susurrus noise. You're just like, it's like it's garbled, but just because it's as it travels back. Maurice, it's your turn. I am assuming you have a solid grip on Ashwin.
I'm shaking him. Ashwin.
Ashwin's eyes are completely covered in black, as though basically the pools of black are covering their eyes. And that's when you feel a tug as these clawed hands of shadow take a hold of their shoulders and begin pulling. And I need you to choose what you want to do in this action.
These are, I can see the shadow hands.
Yeah, and you can see that as the shadow is moving past your feet, it is getting stronger, but you still have an opportunity to take an action.
Maurice is going to use his forte ability, Conflicting Tales, to touch Ashwin and make him vanish and reappear a very long distance away.
Okay.
So I have to roll with 2 die. And yeah, so I'm basically sending him 500 feet the direction I just came from.
Okay, this action I'm gonna say is going to take 8. I need you to roll an 8 once. Because this is
and then the rules. So you can spend sorcery to boost it. You can spend the 1 sorcery to boost.
Right.
So I will do that.
Okay. And so add 2. Remember, it's 2 dice because it's a spell.
Yep.
And then also remember your venture so that you can narrow it.
And who's the? It's not my card family. Okay.
Yeah. You feel the spell being resisted not just by this shadow, but by the shadow inside of Ashwin.
Mm-hmm. So if the spell itself is 4, I'm adding that as well.
Yeah.
So 4 plus the bene plus the dice.
Okay. So you need a 3 at least once.
I do not. Double
9.
ones.
Double ones. Okay. Sorry, buddy. So as you try to teleport this Ashwin away, the creature, whatever this force is, it cements its hold, digs into Ashwin's shoulder. You can see it draw blood, and I think out of a panic, you relinquish the spell, and it pulls Ashwin into a cloud bank of darkness. And as you look up to follow where it's leading this darkness, you see the moonlight shimmer of the opera house as the sun strikes Topiary district. And that is where we are going to end our session tonight.
I just realized I wasn't muted while I was loudly eating nuts, so sorry about that, y'all.
Okay. So guys, we have some folks here that really need to call their loved ones for Father's Day. We've got family plans, so we're gonna cut.
Hey, 11 viewers. That's our highest.
11 viewers is our highest.
Amazing.
Is that including us, though?
No,
I mean, whatever.
I'm not on it.
no, that doesn't
Including
matter.
me.
But 11 viewers, we're going to call that $220 to the Crown Heights
Not
Mutual Aid
bad.
Fund, guys. Belgnets? Okay, sorry. Bayonets. Yeah, so guys, thanks so much for tuning in. We're going to let everybody kind of take off early just because we need to go ahead and attend to family stuff. Thank you so much for joining us. Everybody give to more charity for the Crown Heights Mutual Aid. Sorry, I'm rushing through everybody. Black Lives Matter, Trans Lives Matter, Black Trans Lives Matter. Everybody, yes, go ahead. Sorry.
Tuesday. Come watch the first official episode of Flights of Fandom, where you
Great.
me and I don't to the left. So it's probably still the wrong direction. It's still the wrong direction.
Doesn't matter.
Where you can see me and Marcy play Batman villains henchmen trying to break our bosses out of Arkham Asylum.
It's gonna
Not
be
confess our feelings.
And not confess our feelings.
guys. It's gonna be lit. I'm so happy. I hope Mr. Freeze at some point shows up.
We'll make it happen for you, Zach.
Yes, please. Just
That's how
remember,
much we love you.
fan service is a dish best served cold.
Go fuck yourself. I'm out.
So guys, thanks so much for joining us. That's $220 that we're going to be collectively donating to the Crown Heights Mutual Aid Fund. guys, do your part. If show your presence in the streets. If you can't do that, then donate. If you can't stand up for Black Lives and stand up for the people who need help and who need who need your support and who are underserved and need that help. And most importantly, and guys, sorry, Bill, Kyrrie, or God, Marissa, do you guys have any last parting thoughts?
No, just echoing that.
Okay.
Happy Father's Day.
Happy Father's
Indeed.
Day, everybody. And once again, may the invisible sun shine on you all. Thanks and good night.